Correction. Did you know surgical abortions are free in the public system, but medical terminations, which involve taking a series of medications to terminate an early stage pregnancy, are not? Family Planning Tasmania has told us they see cases of people opting for the much more invasive surgical abortion to avoid costs. What do you reckon? Do you think that's okay? There are some big conversations happening at the moment across the country and in Tasmania about the gender divide when it comes to healthcare. The Federal Senate inquiry found some rural areas had no GPs trained to provide medical abortions, while in Tassie, the conversation being had is around gender biases in healthcare. One point arising is the financial disadvantage females face due to looking after their reproductive health. Family Planning Tasmania's CEO, Lalla Mackenzie, is here this afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hi Kim, how are you going?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. What's the average cost of a medical abortion and how much of that is covered by Medicare?
Look, it varies depending on the circumstance of each individual that requires a medical termination of pregnancy, but the cost ranges anywhere from $150 upwards, essentially, based on if you have a Medicare card or not. And again, from our perspective, what we're saying is that there should be equal access to reproductive health care, and medication termination is a key part of that. So we just want equity across the state and for every individual that is seeking that way of terminating their pregnancy, essentially.
What are some statistics around abortions in Tasmania? Would you know how many people access them each year?
Look, I can tell you from a Family Planning Tasmania perspective, we have 3 clinics based in Glenorchy, Burnie and in Launceston. We see around 16,000 people a year, and around 400 of those are actually in there to access medical termination of pregnancies or to be referred onwards for a surgical termination of pregnancy if they're at that stage.
So it's true, is it, that you've had cases where a woman waits for a surgical abortion because she can't afford the medical abortion which you can have in those very early stages of pregnancy?
Absolutely correct. We absolutely fully support that surgical termination of pregnancy should be free and have access for everyone in the state. But when you're actually making the decision about your healthcare and the rights of your own body based on a financial perspective, that's not acceptable for anyone. And what we're trying to do is just absolutely get equity for anyone that wants to access any part of termination for themselves.
And that experience too of prolonging an unwanted pregnancy, that would definitely affect people.
Absolutely. There's the mental, there's the mental welfare for those individuals going through that. And let's face it, we've been around assisting Tasmanians now for 50 years. This is our 50th anniversary. And just as importantly to that, we've actually taken some of the load off the healthcare system in hospitals where people are actually waiting for that. If there was equity and you weren't paying for a medication termination of pregnancy, you wouldn't actually have to go through that waiting period and that extra anxiety of, keeping that pregnancy for longer.
So both medical and surgical abortions have been made free in the Northern Territory and the ACT. That was last year, so it could be a little early to tell, but do you know how it's all going?
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you that we're part of the Family Planning Alliance Australia, and we absolutely have alliances with both of those. And just having that equity of access, it gives a person the right to choose at any stage, and they're not basing it on financial circumstances. We've lobbied really hard as part of the key reforms into the budget priority statement. We've processed, we've proposed what the changes should be, but we've also had that as part of our submission to the Federal Senate inquiry as well. So the recommendations have been made by the Senate inquiry. We're just waiting to see what the federal government actually have from that. But there is certainly a state requirement here to actually apply pressure in this situation as well.
So in a nutshell for us, Lalla, why should it be covered?
It should be covered because we should never be basing anything that is to do with our health in any circumstances, and particularly reproductive health care should not be based on financial circumstances. It should be based on the requirement of where you are in your pregnancy and what is the best access to, ensuring that you get that medical treatment as soon as possible, and that should never be based on finances.
For people listening and wanting more information about family planning, what's the website?
Certainly, familyplanningtasmania.com.au. We'll also be holding community events over the next few weeks, so please keep an eye out to celebrate our 50th anniversary, as we would love to thank the community members that have given so much to us over the last 50 years.
Fantastic, Lalla. Thank you for your time and have an excellent weekend.
Thanks, Kim. You too.
Cheers. Lalla Mackenzie, CEO of Family Planning Tasmania. Monica Champ with headlines next.
Around the world.